speed to the edge of catastrophe, state-of-the-art engineering, horsepower squared. Inside the oval, out of the public's eye, 100 stories unfold in the dramatic struggle for victory. In the next hour, learn not just what it takes to be a race car driver, but what it takes to own a team, and how engineers build the perfect car. See what it really takes to get into victory lane at Nascar. Line up nose to tail, side by side, inches apart. There's no greater rush than being at the track and hearing the roar of the pack as it blasts by the stands. It's NASCAR, the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, the richest, the largest, and the most competitive auto racing sport on the planet. In the next hour, we will look at 10 of the best things that make NASCAR the ultimate sport. Any look inside NASCAR has to start with a competition. If you ever decide to race your own car, then the first thing you have to do is pick which of two major competitions you want to race in, the Winston Cup Series or the Busch Series. The cars that race in the Winston Cup are a little longer, a little stronger, and a little larger. And the money is definitely a lot bigger. It is the elite racing circuit in the United States. On the other hand, if you're interested in the hot, new up-and-coming drivers, the ones who are bound and determined to dethrone the kings of the road in the Winston Cup, then the Busch Series is for you. But whatever series is your favorite, NASCAR is about competition.
This is a team sport. This is not a one-man band. And for a rookie to step into the Winston Cup Series, it takes to develop a team or at least some notes or something to really back it. There's a lot of different situations that are good, but it's going to have to be the right opportunity for me. I'm waiting on the perfect opportunity so that I can go and be competitive when I do make that step.
Every detail about one of these cars is standardized. Every entry in the Winston Cup Series has the same wheels and tires, the same basic suspension, and the same chassis. The same is true for the cars in the Busch Series. NASCAR goes to great lengths to make sure that this playing field stays as level as possible.
A lot of people wonder what the difference is between a Busch car and a Cup car. The big ones are the Cup Series has an open carburetor rule, which is like basically an 850 carburetor, and the Busch Series has a 390 carburetor rule, so it's got a little bit less airflow that the carburetor allows. A Cup car has a 110-inch wheelbase, which is from the center of the rear tire to the center of the front tire. Busch car has a 105-inch wheelbase. There's a 5-inch wheelbase difference, and that's what a lot of times you'll hear the biggest difference that drivers have adjusting from a Cup car to a Busch car.
Once you've decided which series you want to race in, then you have to decide which car you want to drive. Second on our list of the 10 best things about NASCAR is the car itself. A lot has changed since the days when you could race just about anything that moved. Talk to some of the old-timers and they'll tell you it all started during Prohibition in the South, when daredevils tested their luck on local dirt tracks. But the days of fearless hot rodders are long gone. Today, NASCAR is about the science of engineering and the art of racing. It is about the driver in tune with his car and the track, and willing to push both to their limits. And perhaps most importantly, it's our national passion for the car and for raw, unrelenting speed.
You know, America's just got a love affair with the automobile. It's been that way since the 40s and 50s. And there's Ford fans and Chevy fans and Dodge fans and Pontiac fans.
Only 4 manufacturers' models qualify to race in either the Winston Cup or the Busch Series: the Pontiac Grand Prix, the Chevrolet Monte Carlo, the Ford Taurus, and the Dodge Intrepid. But any resemblance to the production line model on your local showroom floor stops with the body, because nothing else about these babies is the least bit standard. Of course, Dodge wants to win more than Ford and Chevy more than Pontiac, because a win makes the manufacturer look good. As the old saying goes, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. So drivers team up with the manufacturers in order to engineer the strongest car possible.
Well, I've been a Ford driver for over 10 years now, and really the reason I like to work with Ford isn't so much because their vehicle does one thing or another, but it's because Ford Motor Company does a great job of putting a program together and things together that are about winning, and that is why we're in motorsports, is to try to win.
The Ford Taurus, just the fact that how much time Ford's put into designing the Ford Taurus has made it made it a great car for us. It's a good, well-balanced car. Got a lot of downforce on the downforce tracks, and then it's fairly decent on the speedways. A little draggier than some makes, but all in all, it's a really good package for us.
Chevrolet has given us so much technology, so much help over the years as far as being able to win races and win championships. We've been involved in winning. I think they've won 11 Manufacturers' Cups, and I think RCR has been involved in winning several of those.
Well, Richard Childress has obviously been a long supporter and been with Chevrolet for a long time, and that's our brand that we've been with for a long time, so that's the one that we support and try and carry the brand name high.
Well, when you hire on, you hire on to a team, and really probably don't make as much difference what type of manufacturer that they have, that they use, as far as how good you think the team is. I like the fact that there's a limited number of Pontiacs, and you probably get to spend a little more time with the manufacturers. And it's a General Motors brand, which I've been in General Motors for a number of years now, so it was just kind of a good fit.
Always like being the underdog. There's only 4 or 5 cars in the series, so when we do find success with the Pontiac, it just means that much more. It's really kind of cool.
Dodge dropped out of NASCAR competition for almost a quarter of a century, but in 2001 it returned, ready to do battle. Over the years, some racing family dynasties became closely associated with a particular manufacturer, such as the Petty family's relationship with Dodge.
We drive Dodges, and this is our second year with Dodge's come back into the sport. Every race my father won here almost was won in a Dodge. My grandfather won here in Chrysler Products. So for us to be back after all these years, it was almost like a homecoming for us when Dodge decided to get back into the sport a couple of years ago, and we were incredibly excited about it.
If you think all cars are made equal, then you're in for a surprise. Most fans don't realize that the car that runs on a short track, such as the Bristol Motor Speedway, is built differently than a car that runs on a much longer track, such as the Daytona Superspeedway. Even at the same track, teams are constantly changing engines and parts. The engine used for qualifying, for example, will have the timing advanced and its own carburetor jetting. A team may use thinner motor oil or a different fan blade in order to squeeze out every possible ounce of power for speed in the qualifying rounds.
Okay, as you can tell by the number of gear sets behind me, that we don't run the same gear at every track. Gears are kind of strange. The smaller the number, the more the gear. We run the smaller number of gears at the bigger tracks because of the engine RPM. This is a Daytona Talladega gear, smaller ring gear, less teeth. This particular gear is for Charlotte. I'm going to prepare this gear to run for qualifying. Some gears we run all the time, some gears we hardly ever run. Some gears are just for qualifying and some gears are just for racing. But it's part of the deal. You have to get the correct RPM to get the maximum use of the horsepower.
But once qualifying is over, the racing teams continue to make dozens of recalculations. A new rule requires the teams use the same engine used during qualifying, so crews now work on the finer points of engine and driving. A car that runs on a short track averages about 85 miles per hour because of the constant turning and braking. But longer tracks allow drivers to tap into the full power of their huge engines, and speeds can soar upwards of 190 miles an hour. In order to limit the top speed of a car, some tracks require the use of a restrictor plate.
It's a plate that goes under the carburetor. What it does is restrict the amount of air and fuel that go into the engine. Normally our engines make about 770 to 780 horsepower. With a restrictor plate on it, they make about 410 horsepower, so it limits the power of that engine quite a bit.
The restrictor plates are in my mind, you won't find many drivers that enjoy it. It creates incredibly close racing. and that's great for the fans. It's a little bit too close racing for the drivers sometimes to have to run that close together for that many laps. I don't think speed's the issue when it comes to it. Everybody keeps saying, well, if you take the restrict plates off, they'll run 235 or 40 miles an hour. It's not an issue. Nobody wants to see a car running 240 miles an hour out there all by itself, running away from everybody. It's a lot more exciting to see a lot of cars running 185 or 90 miles an hour and a whole group of cars and it coming down to the last lap. So I'm not a huge fan of restrictor plates, but I understand the rationale behind them.
So where do these state-of-the-art cars strut their stuff? The tracks, the next stop on our list of the 10 best things that make NASCAR the ultimate sport. What do Daytona, Florida, Bristol, Tennessee, and Charlotte, North Carolina have in common? No speed limit. And wait till you see where those millions of dollars in racing come from.
Next Sunday night, the Travel Channel's Burning Rubber. Starting at 8, they're rough, tough, big, and bad. Hit the road in America's coolest monster trucks. At 9, put the pedal to the metal at the largest competition to ever hit Daytona, Monster Truck Race Day. And at 10, hang on tight, because we're going off-road for the bumpiest, wildest four-wheeling action. Travel Channel presents, next Sunday starting at 8, only on the Travel Channel. Tuesday, ready, set, bull. It's a down and dirty competition. Find out how ordinary trucks and tractors are turned into massive pulling machines. Truck and tractor pulls. Tuesday at 9 on the Travel Channel.
Ma questa macchina è troppo piccola, dove metti I bagagli?
Sorry, baby. Have to leave it.
Man has always struggled with speed versus space.
Think that thing's big enough?
Until now.
Thank you very much.
The new Infiniti FX45. 315 horsepower, all-wheel drive, and utility when you need it.
You know, it was something that I couldn't talk about. Not to anyone, not even my spouse. It was something that I'd never had a problem with. But my desires just weren't what they used to be, and nothing I tried seemed to help.
Over the past few years, Viagra has helped millions of men with ED, but nothing has been available to the 50 million women who suffer from female sexual dysfunction until now. Introducing Avlamil, the once-a-day tablet that can actually help.
Then I began taking Avlamil, and it all started to come back. I feel better now about my relationship, about myself. I feel like I'm back to being me again.
To find out if Avlamil is right for you, ask your healthcare professional or call 1-800-AVLAMIL and find out how you can get started today. After all, men have their little blue pill, now we have Avlamil.
Extreme beauty, extreme adventure, extreme New Zealand. In a Travel Channel exclusive, the Prime Minister of New Zealand gives you a personal tour of her country. Join this fearless leader as she takes you ice climbing, sinkhole plummeting, and jet boat speeding. See what it's like to live and lead on the edge. New Zealand, the Royal Tour. Tomorrow at 9, only on the Travel Channel. We're back with more Travel Channel Presents.
Once you have a car and know what series you want to race in, then it's time to choose a track. The third on our list of top 10 things that make NASCAR the ultimate sport. There are 4 types of tracks in NASCAR: the road course, the short track, the intermediate track, and the long track. A road course is not about speed, it's about handling. It has a lot of turns and both short and long straightaways. The 2-mile Infineon Raceway and the 2.45-mile track at Watkins Glen in upstate New York are the best-known road courses in America today. A short track is an oval course less than a mile around. Less popular than long tracks, there are 3 short oval NASCAR tracks in the NASCAR circuit: the Bristol Motor Speedway in Tennessee, the Martinsville Speedway in Virginia, and the Richmond International Raceway, also in Virginia. Intermediate tracks like the ones in Las Vegas, Kansas City, and Atlanta are typically between a mile and a mile and a half. And the long tracks are built for speed at 2 miles and longer: Daytona, Talladega, and Indianapolis. 4 types of tracks, 4 types of cars and 4 types of driving.
The track configurations are so different. That's the hardest part about Winston Cup is just the variety of tracks we go to, and you need to go, you need to practice, you need to run, you need to race, and that's the way you get the experience, and that's how you adapt.
I used to have some least favorite tracks, and then I found out if I had least favorite tracks, I didn't do very good at them. So now my favorite track is wherever I'm at that week.
30 miles north of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco lies the gateway to the beautiful Sonoma wine country and Infineon Raceway. With its 12 snaking turns, this course is about constant braking, shifting, and turning. Here, the pack stretches out as it negotiates the endlessly changing road. The setup, the adjustments the crew has to make to a car so it can handle a particular track, is much different for a road course than it is for a speedway. Tire pressure, shocks, springs, and weight distribution all play into creating a formula for winning. On a track like Infineon Raceway, the gear train will take tremendous abuse because of all the shifting. So will the tires and brakes. At Infineon Raceway, the fastest doesn't always win. It's the smoothest and the smartest that usually takes the day.
Series Point's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I mean, we run 38 weekends out of the year, and 36 of them are ovals. So it's a change in pace, and I enjoy racing on the road courses. So it's I like coming to the road course races.
Nestled in the scenic beauty of the Appalachian Mountains, sitting smack on the border between Tennessee and Virginia, lies the city of Bristol. Named by the U.S. Congress as the birthplace of country music, Bristol is also home to the Bristol Motor Speedway. Excitement is contagious here as 170,000 people wait for the green flag. At just over half a mile, Bristol is the second shortest track in the NASCAR circuit. But no matter where you sit in the stadium bowl, you get a spectacular view of the non-stop action on the track. And while the course may be short, Bristol has the most steeply banked track in NASCAR. The 36-degree slope in the turns is steeper than either Daytona or Talladega. And even the 650-foot straightaways are banked at 16 degrees. The setup for cars that race on this track calls for an entirely different strategy than for a road course. Because of the steep banks, these cars need strong and yet responsive suspension on the right side. And because the chutes are so short, fast acceleration is an absolute must for making up lost time on the curves.
It's a really fast track, you know, really small track, a lot of bumping and banging going on, and I enjoy it. It's a good time.
Bristol is a tough racetrack. I mean, it is a fun racetrack. You know, you're going around in laps of 15 seconds, and it's just a thrill.
This is the most exciting place in the world. If I were a race fan and I could only afford, you know, monetarily to go to one race, this would be it. There's nothing like it. There's nowhere that it's this fast. Their action's always constant, all the way through the field from beginning to end.
But the racetrack itself is a pretty tough racetrack to drive in the sense that you're in a banking all the time, and when you look ahead, all you see is cement. And if anything happens in front of you, if you're not careful, you're the first one to the wreck. When the race is over, there's not a car out there that hasn't got a bent place on it somewhere, and probably about a third of them are sitting in the pits all tore up. So it's a very expensive racetrack for the car owners to run.
Very close, very close racing all night long, and you're lucky to come out of here with a race car intact.
If you want a longer track than Bristol, then you don't have to go far to find it. 125 miles southeast of Bristol lies Charlotte, North Carolina, home of the Lowe's Motor Speedway. Site of the Coca-Cola 600, the longest Winston Cup race in the NASCAR circuit, the 1.5-mile oval track at Charlotte provides classic foot-to-the-floor racing. And while the turns are not banked nearly as much as the ones at Bristol, the front stretch at Charlotte at almost 2,000 feet is 3 times longer, and that means speeds in excess of 150 miles an hour. And speed requires aerodynamics. The less resistance to air, the better the fuel economy and the more efficient the use of horsepower. The setup for an intermediate track is much different than it is for a road course or even a short track. Brakes are less of a concern, and so they become smaller. The crew chief now has a different set of worries. How stiff should he make the suspension? How much air pressure should he put in the tires? And what is he thinking about gear ratios? Rear-end gearing translates horsepower to the rear wheels. Choose the wrong gear ratio and you could blow an engine, or you won't be able to keep up the car's RPMs going into or coming out of the corners. It's a constant tug of war between acceleration and top-end speed. And like everything else in NASCAR, finding the right formula for the track often means the difference between winning and losing. And then there's Daytona, birthplace of NASCAR. A lot has changed here since the days in the 50s when NASCAR's first sanctioned race was run on a 2.2-mile course south of Daytona's Central Beach. Today, Daytona is a superspeedway. A superspeedway is defined as a track that's at least 1.5 miles and has banked turns. Charlotte is a superspeedway, but Daytona is one of the granddaddies of the NASCAR circuit. At 2.5 miles, Daytona is classified as a tri-oval because of its unique D-shaped track. Instead of having a typical straight front stretch, this track has a turn banked at 18 degrees midway through it. The main turns are banked much more dramatically, a gravity-defying 31 degrees, which spill out onto the straightaways. And at 3,800 feet, the front stretch at Daytona is twice as long as Charlotte's. That translates into even greater speed, with qualifying times that can exceed 190 miles an hour. Door to door, nose to tail, this race is about position, and the name of the game is wind resistance. The leader of the pack pays a big price for being out front. Fuel efficiency goes down dramatically as the lead car breaks open the air envelope in front of him. It may look great to be in the lead, but the smart driver lurks just behind in the aerodynamic shadow created by the car in front of him. Called drafting, the car behind benefits by saving fuel and using less power. Over the course of 400 or 500 miles, drafting can make a huge difference.
180 mile an hour around here is real slow. It'd be like setting a cruise control on 35 on the interstate. So, but you know, when you put 43 of them out there, business picks up a little bit.
Our next stop in the 10 best things that make up the ultimate NASCAR is the shop, the real starting line for a car. When we come back, get a glimpse of the men behind the drivers, the owners, men like 3-time Super Bowl champion Joe Gibbs, and then a few choice words from the drivers themselves. And if you think these cars just pull up to the pump, think again.
If you think surviving in South America is just a game, then you haven't been to this jungle. To make it here, you've got to have brains, brawn, and a whole lot of bite. The Travel Channel's taking you south of the border for the adventure of a lifetime. You want reality TV? It doesn't get any realer than this. So watch your step or your lunch. All new World's Best Wild South America. Wednesday at 10 on the Travel Channel.
At most rental car companies, $25 will get you a basic economy car. While at Budget, $25 will get you a roomy midsize car, or even a midsize SUV. Let's see, $25 for an economy car, or $25 for a roomy midsize car. For a limited time, rent a roomy midsize car or midsize SUV for only $25 a weekend day from Budget, where you get more car and pay less money. Go to budget.com today or call 1-800-BUDGET-7. Clowns not included.
Blue sky, sunshine, people smiling everywhere that we go. What a day for picking daisies, and what a sky of blue.
Longing for the freshness of laundry dried in a country breeze? Tide Clean Breeze captures the same fresh scent, so you don't have to. Tide Clean Breeze.
What if the new Kia Sorento was in a race against the other SUVs? Who would win? The little ones would be left in the dust. Some just too honking huge. Others would be afraid of getting dirty. And the rest, they'd be distracted by the wads of cash we save. The midsize Sorrento with a 10-year warranty won this unbiased race. After all, it is our commercial. Right now, get 0% financing on the new Kia Sorrento.
If one night a year, everybody jumps into the sea, backwards, and even the frogs are musically inclined, if you can see a whole street dancing together, you're not dreaming. You're in Puerto Rico.
You're looking at a remarkable gardening tool. It's the Mantis Tiller Cultivator. It weighs only 20 pounds, so you'll never have to battle big, bulky rototillers again. That's because the compact Mantis Tiller packs more power per pound than you might have thought possible. The patented Mantis tines dig in at 240 revolutions a minute, about twice as fast as those heavyweight machines. The Mantis Tiller is also perfect for work in tight areas, in vegetable gardens, in flower gardens, and around shrubs and bushes. The Mantis Tiller even has optional attachments to handle all kinds of gardening chores, from clipping hedges to trimming edges. This really is a remarkable machine. And here's a remarkable offer. Purchase a Mantis Tiller direct from the factory, use it for a year, and if you don't absolutely love it, send it back and we'll refund your money. No ands, ifs, or buts. You won't find that kind of guarantee anywhere else.
For free information about the remarkable Mantis Tiller, call 1-800-294-6515.
We're back with more Travel Channel Presents.
As we return to our look inside the top 10 things that make NASCAR the ultimate sport, we take a journey into the inner sanctum for any team, its shop. Here, the head engine builder assembles and tests the car's engines, and at a cost of about $50,000, there's not much margin for error.
The shop goes through quite a few cars, between 18 and 20, because we all work together. I mean, as far as we've taken cars and turned them around in a week. We try not to do that too often. We try to schedule out where a car runs maybe every other week, every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks, so that we have time to go through it, maintenance it, and do the things that we need to do. We can turn a car around in a day if we need to with the amount of people we have.
With the schedule that we have cars prepared pretty much 2 weeks in advance. And if something was to happen at a Bristol or a Martinsville and we tear up a race car, we've got the next week's race car sitting there ready to go, set up. All we do is we go home, we unload the transporter, put the new race car on it, the new suspension components, new engines, and go off to the next track.
Even though we see what looks like the same car week after week at the track, the truth is that in most cases we're really looking at a totally new car, dressed up in the same colors as its predecessors. So what happens to a car after a race?
This year we'll get rid of some of our cars. These two road race car backup cars were cars that we built 2 years ago. We're going to build new ones next year. They'll sell anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000, somewhere in that range, depending on the equipment, how old it is, and how many races we run with it. There's other series out there that can take these cars and basically use them just the way that they are and be extremely competitive with. And we've had fans buy them that just want them because they're crazy about Tony or Bobby's cars.
So who is the person ultimately responsible for everything coming together? The fifth ingredient in our mix of the ultimate NASCAR is the owner. Behind every driver there's a crew, and behind every crew there's an owner. And the names of the owners are often as legendary as the men who drive for them. People like Jack Roush, who has won a spectacular 50 career victories in his 14 years as a NASCAR Winston Cup Series owner.
I built my first car when I was 11 years old. I took my wagon apart, took the 4 wheels off of it, took some wood, took a lawnmower apart, got some belts and pulleys, and I had it wasn't geared, it was geared really fast. It wasn't too good for climbing hills, but it would run 20 mile an hour in a straight line.
And then there's Joe Gibbs, the same Joe Gibbs who took the Washington Redskins to the Super Bowl 4 times and won 3 of them. In his 12th year as an owner, Joe has stacked up an impressive 32 wins.
Well, the reason I came from the NFL over to NASCAR is that I got hooked at an early age. I was 16 years old, started driving cars, loved them. I got hooked on motorsports. At the same time, I was in college and I was playing football, and so I had 2 real loves The first job offer I got was in football, and I said, hey, I better take that. I'm going to make some money over here. All it's doing is costing me money with the cars. When my sons graduated, JD graduated, he said, Dad, I don't want to go into coaching. I'd rather go into some kind of motorsports. And we started dreaming about putting a team together. Miracle, we wind up with this. Not dreaming that we were going to wind up with this. We started very small. To me, I think I'll always want to be doing something competitive in life, you know, trying to beat somebody in something. I love playing sports, wanting to be on a team. The fun in life is trying to beat somebody in something. And we get a chance to go out there and measure ourselves against the other 41 people. To me, there's a thrill in that, and I get a big kick out of it. The best way for me to describe probably winning the Winston Cup is to tell you how hard it is. I coached in the NFL 12 years, and I went to 4 Super Bowls and won 3. I've been over here in racing for 12 years. I've won 1 of these. This is a hard deal, putting 200 people together and getting the chance to win one of these things. It's extremely tough, and we feel blessed to having won 1.
A few weeks after this interview, Joe won his 2nd Winston Cup championship when Tony Stewart clinched the title at the final race of the season at Homestead Miami Speedway. But winning a title doesn't always pay the bills, so who does? Enter the sponsors in our look at the top 10 things that make NASCAR the ultimate sport. Like any professional sport, it takes money, and a lot of it, to field a competitive car. How much money depends on whether you plan to compete in the Busch or the Winston Cup Series.
If you want to make $1 million in NASCAR racing, you have to start with 2. To run a Busch Brand National program per car is about, or per team, I should say, is about $4 million per year. That's relatively less than the Winston Cup Series, which is anywhere from $10 to $15 million a year.
Most of the teams in the top 10, an annual budget for those teams could range anywhere from 8 or 9 million up to 17 million.
I guess a small team, you know, I don't know what the small teams are probably spending, you know, $6 or $7 million, and I think the big teams are somewhere around, you know, between 10 and 12, 15 million, I'm sure. I'm really not sure about the money other people spend, and my mother always told me, don't talk about money.
So if the champion of the Winston Cup Series wins less than $4 million, and it takes as much as $17 million to underwrite the costs of competing, how can anyone make money at this sport?
Well, I say to everybody, a race team has 3 ways to make money, okay? Your winnings that you can win at the racetrack, and the year-end bonus for the championship race. Souvenir sales, which is kind of all split up, okay, and sponsorship. So that's 3 ways you have to make money, 40 ways to spend it. Can you survive on winnings? No. I just put that very simple, because we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for every race. So you're not gonna win enough in winnings, because it's all split up, and so that's really kind of a small part of what we do.
Ever notice all the decals on the sides of a car? They're not just for show. Called contingency decals, they represent all the companies that support the car financially, but it's money that comes with strings attached.
The contingency decals go on the front fender of the car. As you can see, we've got about 12 or 13 stickers. Each company posts it for a little bit different. We post it for 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 10th place finishes. It's a total per decal of $1,400 per race. Some have it broken down to where the winner gets all. Some pay $600 for 1st place, $350 for 2nd, and so on and so forth.
A few thousand here and there from contingency sponsors isn't going to make a big difference when a team's operating budget runs into the millions. The real financial burden falls to the primary sponsor, the company that has its name and logo emblazoned on the hood. It's a corporate who's who of America. Sprint, UPS, Home Depot, even M&M's and Viagra.
Well, I think number one is we offer benefits that no one else offers. We offer a chance to put somebody's brand or logo into the field of action. No one in sports can offer that. You're not going to see the Tide Yankees, but you're going to see a Tide Ford in NASCAR. So we offer some positioning that's unique. We offer the kind of brand loyalty. Our sponsors realize that our fans care that they're there. There's a direct connection to them helping invest in teams and in drivers to provide the action they love. So it's a wonderful marketing connection that is unduplicated right now, and hopefully we'll remain in a good position with that.
The influx of such big money has changed the face and the personality of professional racing. Once thought to be a sport for just some local guys out for a weekend, the people who work on and around the track today are skilled professionals who spend 38 weeks of the year on the road. So when the money does come together, it's up to the driver to make it work. Our next stop in the 10 best things that make NASCAR the ultimate sport. How many men in a pit crew and what exactly does each man do? Stay with us and see what it's like to work in the pits.
They dare to dream. The men and women of America's space program. Now, we honor our heroes with a special look inside NASA Space Centers. Find out how the quest for discovery began, the risks astronauts take, and where you can go to honor NASA's proud and enduring legacy. American Icons inside NASA Space Centers. Premieres Monday, February 17th, only on the Travel Channel.
Resistance is futile. Cadillac CTS. Breakthrough.
Just your brokerage statement, Al.
Avoiding your portfolio won't make it any better. Get a fresh start with Charles Schwab. For a limited time, we'll help you rebalance your portfolio and include recommended equity trades for only $95. Call 1-800-4-SCHWAB.
Your race begins now. You have been placed on a remote island with a team of complete strangers. You are about to attempt an escape. You will exist in complete isolation and use your wits and ingenuity to construct escape vehicles. You will have to think on your feet, but this is more than a game. It's all real. If you lose this competition, your escape will fail.
Escape from Experiment Island. Wednesdays at 10. Only on TLC.
Need cash fast? Just pick up the phone now for up to $500. Qualify in 2 minutes or less. National Money Service can help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
You're welcome. The money you need will be in your account tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Let us help you with unplanned car repair bills, medical bills, household repairs, or anything else you need money for. So if you need up to $500 before your next paycheck, we can help.
Call now.
Call National Money Service now. If you have a tax problem or owe money to the IRS, please stay tuned for some important information. The IRS is now reconciling back-owed taxes, liens, levies, payroll taxes, even penalties. If you act now, the Seidemann Law Firm can settle your IRS debt for just pennies on the dollar. Don't wait until it's too late. Call the Seidemann Law Firm now and settle your IRS problems for only pennies on the dollar. Don't be another IRS victim. Call today for a free confidential tax analysis.
Call toll-free 1-800-315-4884.
Bye-bye.
Sometimes falling in love
Did you want to see some brochures?
feels like the trip of a lifetime.
Found him.
Especially when the in-laws come along for the ride.
Is he nice Greek boy?
Join star Michael Constantine as he hosts My Big Fat Greek Travel Week on the Travel Channel. Get a taste of the real Greece from ancient to modern and a peek of the new DVD, My Big Fat Greek Wedding. My Big Fat Greek Travel Week starts tomorrow at 8, only on the Travel Channel. Before the big day comes the big family. It's Big Fat Wedding Week on TLC, full of tradition, romance, and the occasional culture clash.
Greek to me.
All this week at 2, only on TLC.
We're back with more Travel Channel Presents.
No look into NASCAR would be complete without a peek into the world of a professional race car driver. The men willing to put life, limb, and reputation on the line. Well, maybe not these drivers exactly, but these, men of courage and stamina, because no matter how many men and women they have working in their crew, and no matter how brilliant or state-of-the-art the engineering they bring to their cars, it still boils down to one man, one car, and one track. When everything else is said and done, it's still an old-fashioned shootout, and the winner takes all.
The pros are probably, you don't have to wait in line at a lot of restaurants. They normally can find you a table. The cons are you lose a lot of your personal life. You can't just go out like this weekend. We can't just go out and hang out at the beach like everybody else is going to do. We can't just go to a regular restaurant and just walk in and have a peaceful meal.
But when it's all said and done, we're just the same people that work at the corner grocery store or have a farm or work at the corner gas station or whatever. We just happen to be doing it with race cars and enjoying what we do just like other people do.
And once they hit the top, they learn quickly that even fame is fleeting.
Yeah, I mean, you're always fighting for your position in this sport, and I think that people look at this, especially the people that matter. You're only as good as the last race that you ran, and from there, you got to keep performing. You can't take any weeks off. You just have to continue to do as good as you possibly can.
But the real unheralded heroes of racing work quietly on the sidelines, the men and women who make up the crew. Number 8 on our list of the 10 best things that make NASCAR the ultimate sport. If you think of the crew as a football team, then the driver is the quarterback. And of course, any good team needs a head coach. In NASCAR, that's the crew chief. He calls the plays, makes the substitutions, and decides when to make a pit stop. To be successful, he has to be in tune with everything and everyone around him as he watches from his perch on top of his team's war wagon.
That word carries more weight than the letters that are in it. It constantly changes. Sorry about that.
The driver is responsible for tactics as he takes command of the moment, but the crew chief is responsible for the strategy as he takes the long view of a race. And as he watches the race play out in front of him, he plots the team's moves 2 and 3 steps ahead.
We had a really good car at Pikes Peak. We didn't really win it on fuel mileage so much as we won it on strategy. We had a car capable of finishing in the top 5 without any trouble at all, and we just elected to use a strategy that put us in victory lane. I had reviewed the last 2 races that were run at that racetrack, and there were very few cautions during that race. So when a caution came out on lap 30, even though typically that'd be a pretty early window to pit in, we elected to pit because I knew we could finish the race on only one more stop. And as it turned out, the race ran exactly like I was hoping it did, and there were no more cautions, and we were the only car there were 2 cars that only had to stop one more time to finish the race, and we were one of them.
The most critical part of being a crew chief, however, is the relationship he has to his driver. Winning means being in sync with the car, with the track, and with each other.
It's almost a marriage to a certain degree. I mean, we spend a lot of time together, and we have to work together as partners. There's days that I'm not having a good day in the race car, and Zippy's there, and he's got to keep me pumped up. There's days that
I'm having a decent day in the race car, but he's struggling with pit strategies or setups or something like that. I have to be there to pump him up, but we have to be there for each other as well as the rest of the team. But we're kind of the two guys that everybody looks to. We have to rely and feed off of each other to keep the team's spirits up and to keep the level of competition up that we need to maintain for 36 races.
Then there's the pit crew, the Magnificent Seven. Just as many races are won here as on the track itself. Talk about split-second timing and pressure. With everything done under the watchful eye of NASCAR track officials, a slip here can cost time or a penalty.
My responsibilities are what happens to the race car when it stops. We're concerned about getting the car in and getting the car out in 15 seconds and under, and that involves putting on 4 tires and 22 gallons of gas, cleaning the windshield, and servicing the driver, giving him a drink. All this has to happen in a 15-second time frame so that we don't lose spots on the racetrack.
The Jackman is the leader of the pit stop. Everything starts and stops with him. Once the Jackman lifts the car, the tire changers start on the right side of the car and remove the lug nuts and switch the old tires for new ones. The tire carriers carry the 75-pound tires and position them for the changer. 2 carriers, 2 changers, 4 tires. A tire change averages less than 4 seconds. That kind of speed requires careful preparation so that the tire changers know exactly how to align or index the tires on the wheel studs.
It gives you a brighter color to look at when you're actually trying to index your tire onto the hub.
I'm the tire specialist, and basically what I do is put the tires into sets by code, and then what we call purging the tire, which we actually take the air out that Goodyear puts in it, which is just compressed air, and replace it with nitrogen because it has less water volume in it.
It's a little bit different than a regular car jack. That probably about 35 to 40 pounds. It's made up of titanium and aluminum, and the idea there is to be able to get the car up with 1 pump, which makes our speed a little bit more efficient.
The gas man. All he has to do is dump 2 11-gallon cans of gasoline into the car's 22-gallon fuel cell in under 15 seconds. We don't recommend trying this at home. And the catch can man. His job is to collect the overflow from the car's fuel cell as the gas man fuels up. When the fueling is done, the catch can man signals the jack man.
Needs to be done with between 6 and 8 seconds. Gas cans weigh approximately 76 pounds apiece. My catch can man, it's important for him to be there at the same time I get to the car to plug the catch can in, which opens the vent to allow the fuel cell to fill up the fuel. The excess fuel runs into his catch can. He catches that to keep it from going on the ground and making a big mess.
Everyone has to use the same fuel. It is issued in NASCAR-approved gas cans at a central depot at the track, and every team has to get its fuel from these pumps. This 110-octane gasoline has been specially formulated by Union 76, which supplies all the tracks nationwide. The cans themselves are engineered with a customized valve that fits the car's gas port in order to reduce spillage. Fuel is gold, and a drop lost could be a race lost. When it comes together, it happens fast. So fast, it's impossible to keep track of everything that's happening. Everyone in the pit crew has their assigned tasks, and they move through them with practice speed. The jackman lifts the car with 1 pump, while the front and rear tire carriers position their tires next to the tire changers, who are removing the lug nuts. At the rear, the gas man and the catcher are emptying the first can of fuel. Time elapsed, 2 seconds. By the time the jackman has raised the car, the tires are ready to come off. The jackman grabs the used rear tire while the rear tire changer readies the new one. Time elapsed, 3.5 seconds. The tire carriers index the tires while the tire changers tighten the lug nuts. The gas man goes for the second can. Time elapsed, 6 seconds. Tires are off, new ones are on. The fuel cell is half full. The rear tire changer finishes with a few rounds of wedge as he adjusts the car's jacking screws. The jack man lowers the car. Time elapsed, 8 seconds. The pit crew runs to the left side of the car and repeats the process. By the time the jack man lowers the car to the ground the second time, the total time elapsed will be 16.7 seconds. A second lost here is a second lost on the track. And in a sport where winning is often the matter of tenths or even hundredths of a second is an eternity. A driver might get all the glory, but he would never get across the finish line without a great crew to back him up. Next, a look at the fans and the top 10 things that make NASCAR the ultimate sport. It's race day and the fans are ready for action. Ever wonder what the different flags mean at the track? Everyone knows a green flag starts a race, but what does a red flag or a white flag indicate?
Coming up next, we're going to hog heaven. Straight to the ultimate meeting of motorcycles, the Sturgis Rally. Travel Channel Presents continues next on the Travel Channel.
It was a client's dream and a nation's journey to grow its standing in the global marketplace through the creation of its first investment bank. And in building on the trust they placed in us, their dream became our own. Because that was the dream of our client, the nation of China. And that is what we do at Morgan Stanley, one client at a time.
At Kia, we challenged ourselves to create the perfect midsize SUV. So we loaded the new Sorento with standard features, included a powerful V6, added dual front and side curtain airbags, and a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. But the greatest challenge was to make it affordable. So we hog-tied our accountant, threw him in a closet, and priced it near 20 grand.
Introducing the Sorento from Kia. Right now, get 0% financing on the new Kia Sorento.
At most rental car companies, $25 will get you a basic economy car. While at Budget, $25 will get you a roomy midsize car, or even a midsize SUV. Let's see, $25 for an economy car, or $25 for a roomy midsize car. For a limited time, rent a roomy midsize car or midsize SUV for only $25 a weekend day from Budget, where you get more car and pay less money. Go to budget.com today or call 1-800-BUDGET-7. Clowns not included.
Do you wanna hang out in the daytime? City sounds all around. Do you wanna hang out in the nighttime? City signs in the line. How do you do? How do you do? Happy to meet you. How do you do? How do you do? Happy to meet you.
There's something of Ireland in all of us. The music, the poetry, the warmth of that Emerald Isle where my mother was born. And the soft words of my mother's songs and the soft mists keep calling me back. There's never been a better time to visit. Come with me to Ireland.
Enjoy the warmth of the Irish welcome in cottages and castles. For great vacation packages from $499, visit us at shamrock.org or call 1-800-SHAMROCK.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs. Now, the pig in the straw house was not as careless as some may think. Today, we'd call him budget conscious. So, while the other 2 pigs were out spending big bucks on movies, he enjoyed big hit movies and original series on his premium channel package from Dish Network. By the time the wolf came around, this little pig had used the money he saved for something really important: an electric fence. You'll be shocked by the savings when you add Showtime Stars, HBO, or Cinemax. Call 1-800-333-DISH today.
Interest on our cards used to be 21 to 23%.
They were impossible to pay down.
I couldn't keep up with my payments anymore. Cambridge lowered my monthly payments so that I'm able to manage it.
Cambridge Credit Counseling is a non-profit service. They'll work with you and your creditors to reduce your monthly payments.
Before Cambridge, it would have taken me 15 to 20 years to get out of debt. With Cambridge, I'll be debt-free in 4.5 to 5 years.
Give Cambridge Credit Counseling a call. Find out how good it feels to be debt-free.
Extreme beauty, extreme adventure, extreme New Zealand. In a Travel Channel exclusive, the Prime Minister of New Zealand gives you a personal tour of her country. Join this fearless leader as she takes you ice climbing, sinkhole plummeting, and jet boat speeding. See what it's like to live and lead on the edge. New Zealand, the Royal Tour. Tomorrow at 9, only on the Travel Channel. We're back with more Travel Channel Presents.
The ultimate ingredient in NASCAR is the fan. The fan brings the raw energy and enthusiasm that makes everything happen. You can feel all that eagerness peak as race day approaches. Gridlock stretches out for miles in every direction. If you plan to make a weekend of it, then you'll want to bring your camper. All the conveniences of home in ready-made neighborhoods. For a lot of NASCAR fans, there's no better place to kick back, make new friends, and enjoy the sights.
From the camping to the racing to whatever.
Gets the adrenaline flowing through your body.
Wherever your taste lies, whether it's for a down-home barbecue or the simple pleasure of chomping down on a dog or a burger, you're guaranteed to find the scratch to your culinary itch. And if you want to sit over the track and watch the race in air-conditioned comfort while you order off a menu or sample a buffet, you can do that too. The food here rivals the best of any restaurant. And if you're one of the lucky few who gets to sample the goodies inside a sponsor's tent on Hospitality Row, then forget trying to count the calories. It used to be that going to the race meant all you could do was climb up into the stands and sit for 3 hours. Now it's all about having fun. It's about taking your family and getting away. It is part county fair, part amusement park, and all about cars. Some people get the coveted garage and pit passes that let them go into the working areas of the teams and watch up close as each team readies its car for the race. These passes are a chance to see the racing world from the inside. But the center jewel in this crown is the race itself. Our final look at the top 10 things about NASCAR. Have you ever wondered how people communicate with each other after the race starts? Every driver has a radio in his helmet, but he can only talk to his crew. So how does the track talk to the drivers? Ever notice the man standing in a box high above the track waving a flag? Each of those flags sends an important message to the drivers on the track. Everyone knows the green flag. Green means go, pedal to the metal. The green flag starts and restarts the race after it has been paused. What many fans don't know is that the car in the number 2 position can't reach the starting line before the pole sitter. If he does, he'll get penalized. At some point in virtually every race, something goes wrong. It may be something simple like a car blowing an engine, or it could be every driver's nightmare when things really start going out of control. That's when the flags start to fly. A yellow flag is a caution flag. It means slow down and drive carefully. A car doesn't have to slow down until it reaches the start-finish line, but once it does, it has to hold its position. The pace car will come out onto the track and hold the pack in place until the starter is ready to fly the green flag again. But sometimes conditions on the track get so dangerous that racing officials need to stop the race. A red flag means everyone must come to an immediate stop, regardless of position. Even work in the pits and the garage has to stop. Races may be called because of hazardous circumstances such as inclement weather or a bad accident. But no matter what happens during a race, the show must go on. As far as the drivers and crews are concerned, a race isn't over until someone crosses the finish line. As a race gets near the end, drivers and fans will see new flags. A white flag appears only once during a race, and it means the race is in its last lap. It is the final push to the finish line. And the checkered flag, of course, means the race is over and the lucky winner is headed for victory lane. The world has a love affair with the automobile and with speed. In the landscape of international sports, few can rival it. It is bigger than the NBA, the NFL, and Major League Baseball combined. And over 100 different countries now carry NASCAR events on television. A sport that started inconspicuously 50 years ago has become the world's ultimate sport.
Want to know a secret? A Travel Channel secret? Like how to win in Vegas, what's hidden under Buckingham Palace, or where to spy on celebrities. Tomorrow night at 9, Travel Channel Secrets uncovers the exclusive, the unique, and the unknown about the places you thought